Okay, so, fine, so this is the topic for today. We ready? How you doing over there? Okay, so we're talking about the concept of creation. Kabbalah, feel free to chime in as always with any questions, thoughts, ideas, whatever you'd like. Ready, go. So basically the concept in Kabbalah, we ask a question. And that is, okay, here we are, we're in a world, and question is, okay, before that, what was there? Of course, what's the answer to that question?
Nothing. We don't know.
Oh, that's fair. Who cares is a good one. We actually kind of dealt with that one already before. What do you say? Water? Also kind of true, but before that, before the water I'm talking about.
We can't understand it. It's above our head. Everything.
It's above our head. It's also synonymous for God, yes. So this is pre-creation, right? Pre-creation, it's all God and it's all good, right? And so therefore what happens according to Kabbalah is that there's a process that Kabbalah refers to as tzimtzum. Tzimtzum literally means, anybody know?
Yeah, condension. Yeah.
What do you call it? Condension, okay. Hold back. Constriction is a word that's a lot of times used, right? But that there's a constriction. But let's be clear. Can God be constricted?
No.
Right. So what do we mean when we say a constriction? It's not that there is a change or a lessening or anything like that in God, but there's a constriction in the clarity that it's all God and that it's all good. And that opens the door for something called a world, right? And it's interesting that the world is called that. How do you say world in Hebrew? Olam. So the word world in Hebrew, olam, is really rooted in the Hebrew word ne'elam or he'elam, which means disappeared or hidden. Because in order for us to look around in a world and actually refer to something as world, to refer to something as something that's not God, it means that there has to be at its root a constriction of the clarity that really it's all God. Right? Because as we said from day one over here, we said, what do we mean by God in one word? This is what happens when we take 3 to 4 weeks off. What? She said it already. Infinite, right, you got it. Infinite. So what do we mean by infinite? Let's just be clear what we mean. Infinite means, by definition, infinite means not finite. Beyond the limitation, right? Not time and space. Beyond the limitations of time and space. Right? And so then we should be able to, if we saw everything clearly, we'd just be walking around, and you wouldn't be able to say table, chair, me, you. We would just say God, period, the end. Right? That's the beginning, the end, and the middle. There would be no beginning, middle, or end. There would just be it. You hear what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the fact that we walk around the world and we don't So this is really the story here, and what happens, and so the whole idea is that, so first stage number one is like we were talking about before with the universality, right? Stage number one, it's all clear, it's all God, it's all good, but now then there is they're missing something with that though. We, quote unquote, we're missing something. It seems like we have it all, but what are we missing in that situation? The experience of what? Emotions, close to that. That's connected to this, yes?
Bechira.
Say what? Bechira, right? What's Bechira in English, anybody?
Free choice.
Free choice. The ability, really, let's put it in different terms, we're really missing the experience of growth. The experience of being able to be living in a situation where things are not all that clear and actually going ahead and making a move on our own based on our decision, right? And so for that reason, God sets up this entire system, right, in which there's a constriction of the clarity that really is all Hashem, opening up the door to something called free will choice, opening up the door for us to go ahead and build a higher level of relationship with Hashem, one that is rooted in what we really do. And we've spoken about this before. This is the principle we mentioned once before, that the quality of a relationship depends on your ability to choose it, and choosing it means you have to have the real ability to destroy it. Does that sound familiar? Good, because I said it about 100 times, right? Which means to say that we, just like a parent, just like a child moves away from the parent relationship as primary relationship in their life, because in a healthy situation with the parents, it's just kind of there. It's just kind of stable, and that's nice, and a child needs that, but if we want to be more mature, more refined, more delicate, more higher level relationship, we need to move into that free will kind of relationship. That relationship where there is a real choice to move towards, and the only way there's a real choice to move towards is if there's a real choice to move away, to destroy it, right? And so this entire world is set up for this purpose of essentially opening up the door to really move away from God, but really for the purpose of moving to have a choice to really move towards God. And by the way, this is all seen right there in the first words, or really even the first letters of the Torah, right? How do you actually say to create in Judaism, in the Torah? Bara. Well, there's also actually another word. No, that's built on something else. There's another word in there. Anybody know what it is? In the Torah? Yotzer. Ever heard that one?
Oh, yeah. That's the
now we're already getting ahead of ourselves. There is truth to that, but we're not going to go there right now. That's already another story. Asher Yotzar et Ha'adam, right? As a matter of fact, in the Torah it says, right, that God, that's the word that's used when the person is created. We're going to talk about this in a second. But let's understand that there are three words. There's really three words that we have for creation in the Torah, which is Borei, Yotzer, and Oseh. We're going to leave Oseh to the side right now. But let's understand what bara is. So that means to say, if there's two different words, let's just start with these two words, Yotzer and bara. If there are two different words to mean create in Judaism, it means we're missing something. Because there's no way that there's two words in the Hebrew Holy Language that mean the exact same thing. Right? So it must be that we're missing something from the definition. And according to essentially the Jewish or Kabbalistic understanding of these terms, there's two different kind of creations here. There's what we might call positive creation and negative creation. Let me explain to you what I mean. For example, let's say I take a flashlight, and I take the flashlight and I shine it onto the table. Right? So that is positive creation. I've just made the spot of light on the table is now there, something which was not there before. So that I just created something, the spot of light, from something, the flashlight. You're with me so far? That is a move towards positivity. There's positive creation. However, there's also another kind of creation, and it goes like this. There I am shining the light on the table. I come along with my hand, and I put my hand right there in the middle. What have I just created down here? Darkness, right? Shadow, darkness, right? So, is it a creation? Well, yes and no. There's something that's there that was not there before. Darkness. But it's not a positive creation. It's a creation by negation. Right? It's something from nothing, if you will. Yeah? Forget the nothing. Something from, I'm saying no thing. Something that is, we're going to call it a something as darkness, but really it's from no thing. It's from the absence. It's from the taking away of the light that was there before. Is coming into a situation where it wasn't there before, right? But the only way that it wasn't there before is because it preceded by negative creation.
Before light was created, you said darkness?
So hold on a second. Let's look at it another way. You're right, I went backwards. First it's all God and it's all good, right? You could say it's all light, but the truth is there light if there's no capacity to experience non-light? Ooh, deep. Let's contemplate that for a second. But hold on. Let's understand, just to keep it in simple terms, okay? The first words in the Torah, Bereshit, bara. In the beginning, there's that word bara. Actually, it's really the first three letters of the Torah. Bet, Resh, Aleph. Right? To begin the conversation, and by the way, let's just see in the word itself, what is bara? It's bar, Aleph. Aleph, of course, is, what's Aleph in Judaism? Numbers? 1. What's 1 in Judaism? Okay, Hashem. Bar is something that's outside of, or an exception to. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He's the child of Yochai. There was a guy Yochai, and then Rabbi Shimon was born out of him. He's something else in addition to. So this is the concept we're talking about here. Creation. Let's be clear that when we look around the world, we say, hey, this world we think our first gut response is this world is a creation of positivity. We think, okay, before there was nothing, now there's something, that's a move towards positivity. What Kabbalah is teaching, and what's really weird, it says it right in the Torah, is Bereshit bara. Before it was just God, and now there is something that exists. It's creation by negation. It's a darkness, if you will. It's like, okay, it's all God, and then God goes like this, so to speak. Now you have that shadow. Now you have that darkness, right? There's no such thing as what's there. There's just God. There's no there. Where is there? Yes, we can't imagine. That's exactly right. So once we accept that, we can move forward. Right? We can accept that we can talk. That's how it works with God. Right? With God, we can know a lot. Everything in this world points back to God, but to wrap our minds around God, we can't do. Right? Because you're trying to use your gray matter, finiteness, to grasp that which is beyond the limitations of the finite. Right? So everything in the finite points back to an infinite, as we've discussed before. But for us to try to wrap our minds around it, what is the essence of God, etc., that is beyond us. Like it says in Kabbalah books, which quotes, I think it's a pasuk, I forget where, "B'mumfla mimcha al tidrosh." That which is beyond you, don't try to explain.
Well, has anybody ever, did somebody who reached that level of understanding of what God necessarily is?
I think you should pray to Hashem for Mashiach, and then when Moshe comes back to life, you can ask him. I don't know. That's all I got. Yes.
So Yetzer is.
Yeah, we're going to get to Yotzer in a second. Right, Yotzer is, okay, here, now we're in a world, when there's a world of non-clarity, us. So now when God puts in it's a shining forth of light in that situation. Does that make sense? So, for example, when the soul of Hashem comes down into Adam, right, so that is a Yotzer kind of creation, right? It's a something from something else. Well, I guess the God is the something else, but okay. When we start talking about Hashem, all our words are not really accurate. You have to know that. Right? That's why David HaMelech said, he said, L'cha d'miyat tehillah, right? For you, God, silence is praise. Which is why? Because as soon as you open your mouth already to talk about God, you're already clearly going to be making a mistake, because language is limited. And we're talking in finite terms, because we're living in a finite world. Right? Yes, you're supposed to make your brain hurt because your brain can't hold it, but it's okay. As your brain hurts, it grows. It's like lifting weights. You know what I mean? Lifting weights, so it hurts, but it's okay. It'll grow back stronger. Right? So, but then what does David HaMelech do after he says, God silences praise? Why should we, as soon as we open our mouth, already it's an insult. And then what do? Writes the next 150 paragraph chapter, right? Parakim up to him. Right? Which means to say that, okay, on the one hand, we know that we can't do it justice, but on the other hand, we're speaking beings. We need to grow. We need to talk. And so we got to talk. Right? But don't take your words too seriously. Right? Every word for word in Hebrew is limiting. Teva, which means word, is a box. Right? So the different words meaning word are all telling you that our words are restrictive. Right? And that's okay. That's how it has to be. But let's just be clear that when we're talking about God, we're trying to words point to this as opposed to everything else, and the point is that God's beyond all those limitations, right? So we can talk about things, but we should also take it with a grain of salt, as they say, right? Yes, well, yet again, it all has to do with limitations, though. Right? It also do with limitations, saying this as opposed to that. But when we're talking about God, it's beyond those limitations, right? So getting back to this story here. So now, so what happens next? So what's the whole point? Of course, the whole point is to get to a place, get to what's called Shabbat, Shabbos, right? What's Shabbos? Shabbos is, well, let's look at the word, right? Again, you're saying that the words have meanings, right? So what's the word Shabbos mean? Shabbos from a Hebrew word shuv, which means to return. So return to what?
To the state we were in before we were corrupted.
I wouldn't use the word corrupted, but yeah, the state we were in, to return to the pre-creation clarity of Hashem, but even here in a post-creation world of non-clarity. To get to a little bit of godliness and clarity, even in a world with of non-clarity. To get to light, the pre-creation light, even in a world of post-creation darkness. Now that would be something, huh? Pull up a little bit of light in the darkness, that's amazing, right? And that's what Shabbat's all about. That's, by the way, why, what's Shabbat? What do we do on Shabbat? We refrain from doing all of those things that were involved in building this physical world of darkness. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So that's the idea of really what we're trying to do on Shabbat, is get back to that state, but in this world of non-clarity. And by the way, let's be clear, as much as this, if this story sounds familiar to you, it should, because it is really the story of each and every one of our lives. It's the same process, right? Where were we before you came down this world? You guys are what? You guys, most of you are like 18, right? Okay, so where were you 19 years ago? And don't pull reincarnation on me.
19 years ago.
Before you came down here on planet Earth, where was your soul? Okay, so there you were, basking in the glory of the infinite, singing praises to God 24/7 with the angels. It's all God, it's all good, it's all clear, it's all light, however you want to call it, right? And what happens? God says, ain't no thing. Singing praises to me 24/7. It's all God, it's all good, it's a world of clarity. No biggie. Let's see what we should do. You know what we'll do? Let's take you, put you into a body, right, which has all sorts of other issues and desires and emotional hang-ups and natures and nurtures, like they say in psychology. Let's stick you in that thing and put you on planet Earth in a world where, again, non-clarity. And then let's see if we can pull off a little bit of godness and God clarity and soul-oriented living, even here in this world of mixture, even here in this world where things are not so clear. And what, of course, is the idea? The idea is that you should come down here and live out a little bit of that soul, higher, godly, angel-like living, even here in a world where it's not so clear. Right? So the picture of creation in mass, on macro scale, the entire world, is really the story of each and every one of us in our own personal lives, right? And that's why it says in the Gemara, Adam, Olam, Katan. Person is a miniature world. Same story, just in micro. What's going on in macro is going on in micro, right? The mission's the same. And that's what we're waiting for in this entire history, is to come to that time of Mashiach, when we go, which is referred to as the Yom Shekulo Shabbos, the day that is the big, the Sabbath of the world, right? Because that's the time when we're going to, and what's the time, what's Mashiach all about? It's not about that we're all going to be rich. It's not that we're going to be, it's not really about the fact that, like, we're going to be, the superpower of the world. That might be true, but that's not the point. The point is that that's going to be a time, if you look at the sources in the Tanakh, in Yeshayahu and things like this, what's it all about? It all comes down to one thing, is that everyone is going to come to Ledat et Hashem Elokechem, right? That you're going to come to know, you're going to come to have a oneness and connection with Hashem. Meaning, word is what they used to say to mean ditto. Ditto is what they used to say to mean yes.
And the world is created for understanding.
The word, yes, that's one way of looking at it, of course. Of course. There's different ways of looking at why Hashem created the world. We spoke about previously the idea that God created the world in order to offer us the opportunity to get the max, which is relationship with Him. That is one way to look at it. Another way of looking at it is to flip it around and to say God created the world for the purpose of the manifestation of His glory, meaning to say to express godliness even in a place where God is not all that clear. Really, both of these things are exactly the same and are achieved basically at the same time in the same way. He doesn't need it, right? And this is where we go off, and this is why usually we don't, this is why we usually don't, Kabbalah talks about this reason that we're talking about now. Usually we don't, a lot of times people won't talk about it. Why? Because it is difficult for us to get out of our own head, because the only reason why we do anything is because we feel lacking. Right? And so it's hard for us to contemplate the idea that God did something, but God's not lacking. Right? And so anyway, so you'll see these Jewish sources, which is Hakol bara l'chvodo. God created everything for His glory, and it's like, oh my gosh, what an egotistical maniac! What's wrong with him? He has a self-conscious, self-esteem problem. And the answer, of course, really is, well, what's His glory in the end of the day? What is God's glory? The answer is you, me. God's glory. There's certain sources which actually refer to the neshama as kavod, and then translate things like Laman yizamercha kavod. Right? You know that pasuk? Laman yizamercha kavod v'lo yidam. No? Yeah. Okay, fine. Laman yizamercha kavod. That in order that God's glory should sing. What's God's glory? Let's talk about the soul. You know what the soul is? The soul, right? It means to say that God created the world for His glory, but the glory is the soul, right? Because what's the glory? Let's understand what we mean by Hashem's glory for a second, right? What do you mean by Hashem's? What do you mean by glory? Let's take a parallel from our lives. I'll give you a little story. You ready? You guys with me? Yeah. Yeah. So I have this little daughter. Her name's Rachel. She's 5 years old. Okay, and I don't know if I ever told you the story before. She is a big fan of sour sticks. You know sour sticks, right? I tell you the story?
Oh, if she doesn't like take it from the school.
Yeah. So I'll tell it again just to clarify the situation. Okay, real quick. That she goes ahead and she goes to the store, and she's a big fan of sour sticks. And so there's a side of her that she walks into the store, and there's a side of her saying, "I want to take those sour sticks and run." Oh. But there is another side of her that said, hopefully this is the Ellie side of her, right? Hopefully I gave her something positive, and she was like, okay, be a good person, listen, keep the Torah, be honest, treat others like you want to be treated, all that stuff. So don't take the sour sticks, right? And so she is having a battle within her. A side of her, the sour stick side of her, and the Ellie side of her are going to war with one another and saying, right, and they're going back and forth. And there's a struggle, and it's real. And she's within the struggle. Me, Ellie, I might appreciate a sour stick from time to time, but I walk into the candy store. There is no part of me that's really pulling me to take the sour sticks and run. Right? So I'm beyond the struggle. She's within the struggle. Can you hear the idea that the biggest expression of my glory, the most amazing thing for me, can you hear that? When she goes ahead and she asserts the Ellie side of herself over the sour stick side of herself, and she decides that she's not going to take the sour sticks, and she walks out of the store without taking the sour sticks, can you hear the idea that is the greatest in terms of the expression of my glory? Yeah. Do you hear that idea? Yeah. That is the greatest in terms of expression of me, because there I was rooted in that, but there was a part of me that was expressed in her that was in a real struggle. I'm beyond the struggle, right? But she, who's a kind of like an expression and an offshoot of me, she's within the struggle. And she could go either way. But when she goes ahead and she aligns herself with my values, with my core, with what I'm all about, that is the greatest expression of me, because I have now been expressed into even in a field, even in a situation where it could have gone the other way.
Is that why it takes so hard to
I'm sure that's one reason. There could be many reasons for that, but I'm sure. Absolutely, of course. Right? So that is the grace in terms of in terms of the expression of me, in terms of my glory, right? So this is the same story. Guess what, my friends? This is the story of each of us as souls, right? We have one God who's totally beyond all its situations, right? But then he's got these perspective, from our perspective. Everything we talk about in Kabbalah, Judaism, anything, has to be from our perspective. We don't have any other perspective, right? And by the way, this is also all the questions you're asking and other things I'm saying. It seems like I'm just answering off the cuff. No, I can quote you all of these different things, the things about words, the things about what we're talking about here with our perspective. Rav Kook talks about this a lot. Everything we're talking here today it can be sourced in many of these places. So what we talk about has to be our perspective, right? So this is one way we're looking at it, and so the point is, of course, this concept of alignment, right? And this is all going on again within us. If you look at our situation, where exactly we all, by the way, marriage, same thing, right? Is this concept of oneness that's clear, coming down in a world of non-clarity, and then can I get the unity and oneness even in a world of non-clarity? Right, so what do we say? We say that there's one soul, comes down and broken down into the masculine side of the soul, the feminine side of the soul, going to the guy and the girl, usually, hopefully, if everything goes right. If not, then you have other issues. But it comes down that way of separation, and then hopefully, what do they want to do? They want to create a state of oneness, even though the first perception of the two of them is that they're two, right? So you ever hear these people that are in love, and they're like, oh my God, we feel like we're one. And you, not being a part of it and getting kind of nauseous, is like, really? Because I see two. And right, because what are they really saying? They're saying that they feel like there's an internal oneness, and they're trying to recreate and connect with that, align themselves with that internal oneness, despite the fact that there's two of them. Right? That's love. Right? So love is not baby don't hurt me. Love is an experience of oneness, even in the two-ness. They don't all get the joke, so what can I tell you? I'm alone sometimes. Fine. So, okay, good. So, the love baby don't hurt me thing or something, the other stuff. Okay, love is experience, a oneness experience even when you're in a state of two-ness. That's how we define it for this week. I don't know. So this is how we go. So look at it in terms of our own self. So that's in terms of love, in terms of relationships, in terms of two people. Let's look at it even within one's own self, right? You have a soul, but then your soul comes down into a body. The body has all sorts of faculties. We actually mentioned this part last time. A body has all sorts of faculties, can go in all sorts of other directions, has all sorts of yearnings to different directions. But then if a person goes ahead and actually does and lives out their soul essence, so there is a unity and an alignment between soul and body, between soul and between thought and action, between essence and expression. Between essence and expression. And that's, of course, what we're always trying to do. Essence of God never changes. Expression of God, that's based on us. Right? That's why the Jewish people compared to the moon. We did male-female already? Okay, so that's a feminine concept, right? That's why the Jewish people are compared to the moon, because the sun gives off the energy, it gives off the light. That's not a question. But how much of that's actually going to be here for us to perceive and to feel and experience is going to be based on the position of the moon. That's why when we talk about times of Mashiach, what do we say? That the light of the moon will be like the light of the sun. It says in the Jewish sources. That right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So why is that Mashiach? Because it's the concept of the expression of reality will match reality. Our perception of Hashem will actually now match what Hashem is, which of course, by the way, is technically not true. That can never happen. But the point is, it'll be a lot better than it is now.
Even when Mashiach comes in.
How are we ever going to? How can our brain, our created brain, if we're going to be anything less than Hashem, if the individual me and you are going to be anything less than Hashem, that means there's some limit where where God's going to be above where I'm at, right?
You don't understand everything, but like
okay, that's what I'm saying. Right. Cool. What else we got?
So we're just asking questions now.
Well, okay. Let me be more formal. Are there any questions on anything we said here today, or and if not, then anything else that you'd like to chat about?
I just want to know what you were saying about the moon, that the Jews are coming.
Yes. Did you know that the first commandment the Jewish people get as a nation when they leave Egypt, and even before the Ten Commandments, they get Kiddush Lavana, right? Kiddush Chodesh.
Okay.
Right. Well, the explanation to that. Here, no question about it. But how much are we going to perceive and be able to build a relationship and have a real tangible connection with Hashem is going to be based on what the Jewish people, the positioning of the Jewish people, what the Jewish people do. If the Jewish people do, in terms of their thought, speech, and action, align themselves with the reality of God, so they're going to be, just like the moon reflects the light of the sun, the Jewish people reflect the light of Hashem, meaning to say that they'll bring the clarity. What's light? It's clarity. Right? They're going to express clarity of Hashem in the world. And the world will come to align itself more with the principles of God and Judaism and Torah. If the Jewish people don't do that, so there'll be more non-clarity of Hashem in the world. There'll be less sunlight, if you will, less God clarity in the world. And guess what? The world will start to move more away from God and Judaism and Torah. And by the way, also more likely to come, you increase the power of evil in the world, they're going to come try to kill the power of good in the world, which is also where anti-Semitism comes from, spiritually.
So a soul creator always souls before creating?
Word.
Not really.
I'm still at word.
So, but the word doesn't say that in the beginning of creating.
Because it's talking about the beginning of the physical world there, or perhaps the created world or the created worlds. It's not talking about souls. Souls exist beyond all stuff. Souls exist beyond angels. This chelek elokam mima'al mamash, right? You Chabadnik, no? Chabad, right? So chelek elokam mima'al mamash. But then of course they also say kaviyachol, right? Well, mamash means really, and then kaviyachol means kinda. Not really, because you can't say that it's really a part of God, because you can't define God's part. So that's the point we're trying to say before with the words when we're talking about God. You're like, yeah, really, but not really.
Was there ever a time before our souls? Where was just God?
Well, the question is if there was a time before time.
Yeah.
Deep. You notice the problem with the question, yes? Okay.
So basically, there was
Yeah.
a point, not a time, but a point.
A point. Oh. By point, you mean a point in time?
No.
Oh.
Just like
A non-essential era.
Era. So era is not time. You see the issue
we
here.
talk about when God created our souls,
When,
or like how.
I don't know. How? He took out a machine and I don't know.
What were the
They say that his souls are carved out from the bottom of God's throne of glory. What on earth does that mean? Okay, this is a separate conversation. By the way, you find this concept of Yotzir and Bara, like she mentioned in the Birkat, what do they call it? Asher Yatzar. Asher Yatzar et Ha'adam. Again, Yotzir is connected to Adam. Asher Yatzar et Ha'adam b'chachma. Chachma is spirituality and holiness. And then what does it say? Ubarabo. Then we use the word bara when it starts talking about the body. Ubarabo nikavim negavim chalalim chalalim. It starts talking about the body. It starts using bara. Right? Is that the point we're trying to say here? By the way, if you want to see more on this, feel free to get a wonderful book called Halacha by Choice, which talks about the different deeper reasons behind halacha, daily Jewish living, and there's a Asher Yatzar section which talks all about this. Also, for more on that, on this topic about Shabbat in Kabbalah, you can also get that book. I think it's at the end. And then also there's a separate section in another wonderful book called Jewish by Choice, which talks all about this and connects it to Olam Haba and Olam Hazeh.
Wow. And so these are your books.
Yeah, I wrote them. But
You wrote them?
promoter? Okay,
Do you sell them in what bookstore?
the Jewish ones. And of course, Amazon.com. Hello.
Oh.
We're out there for the world. Facebook Live and gotta be available on Amazon, right?
They have a bookstore on, I think, like, right next to y'all. I don't know if it was Ben Yehuda.
A Jewish one?
Yeah.
Okay, so it might be there. If my distributor is doing his job. If not, tell me. Put the smackdown on the guy.
It's called Jewish by Choice, and I want to call by Choice.
Truth. Well, you can come to my house and, I only have about 500 copies sitting there. Actually, Jewish by Choice out of print, so it'll only be in the stores. But halacha, we're working on footnoting the thing and then getting it out. Again, yeah, they've been sold, so I have to do it. I'm going to put them out again, but I want to footnote it. Halacha by Choice there's still plenty left. Yeah, what did you want to say?
No, what about the planets for?
Planets?
Yeah.
Oh, separate conversation. Astrology. What are they for? They're in Hebrew we call these things mazalot. Mazalot, the constellations and things like that, yeah?
Is there a sense of what other people say about other living beings?
Aliens don't know. It seems like the Jewish approach that I've heard of is that don't know, don't care. Doesn't make a difference. Maybe there are, maybe there aren't. Maybe there's some significance, like maybe there's a lesson to be learned from it. There's like a lesson to be learned from every animal, but like it doesn't make a difference. Like the bottom line is what matters is the human being with the human soul, because that's the only creature, as far as we're aware of, according to Judaism and Torah, that has a capacity for free will choice. That has pull in one direction, but the ability to get outside of that and choose something higher. So that's really what it's all about. So if that's the goal, and by the way, just realize where the ultimate conclusion that we can draw from this. If the goal is to build a relationship with the infinite, yes, may God bless you with all that is good. If the ultimate goal is to build a relationship with the infinite, if that's what the world is here for, then realize that everything else is here to serve that purpose. right? Everything else is here to serve that purpose. So when we understand that, we have to reevaluate a lot of the different things that we talk about, especially in modern, like vegetarianism is a good example, right? Where it's like, well, hold on a second, what are animals, let's say, for, right? Like, what is their goal? What is their ultimate purpose? What is their ultimate completion and perfection? And other things like this, like everything has to be revisited once we understand that that is the goal. Right? Once you understand that that the goal is for the person to make a higher choice in order to connect to Hashem. So then we have to reevaluate and redefine pretty much everything else that's going on in the world in terms of its purposefulness, in terms of what is good and what is evil.
What's the answer to the animals?
No, I'm saying, like, some people will say, like, okay, so, like, for example, in Judaism we have an idea in Simcha Labasar V'Yayin, right? That when you have a Seudas Mitzvah, to at least to have meat or whatever. So there's no, so that means to say that in terms, like, if a person doesn't like, let's say, meat or chicken or something like that, so then fine, no, we're not saying to eat it. If a person objects to certain ways, that person doesn't want to give their money to certain ways, that because nowadays the truth is there's a lot of issues in terms of Tzar Balei Chayim, for example, that goes on even in the places that have kosher certification. The person wants to project not to give their money to that, or a person doesn't want to consume any of these animals which are pumped up with hormones and things like that. All of that, okay, but in terms of the moral argument of just not killing an animal in order to eat, on, let's say, a Shabbos or a Yom Tov, so there, according to Judaism, there wouldn't be a moral argument there. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so and anyway, there's a lot of things like this. But anyway, so we have to come to clear. So same thing with the planets, right? Same thing with the planets, that we have to understand, though, we can talk about it, we can philosophize about it, we can be interested in it, we can learn about it. Who knows, maybe they have a cure to some disease in the rocks and planet Mars that we don't have. There's plenty of reasons to explore it. But we need to be clear on to stay focused on really on the goal is to build a relationship with Hashem, and that's what we're able to do with our free choice. So everything else is here, not by accident, but to somehow serve that purpose. All right? So you have to find a way to take whatever mundane things are in the world and channel it towards that. And that's one of the reasons why Jewish people are referred to as Yisrael, because it's Yashar El, because what we're all about is taking different gifts of the world, right? That every nation has a gift to give and other things, and bringing it and connecting and attaching it to its ultimate purpose, in terms of using that thing to facilitate a connection with Hashem, right? And of course, there's certain things that you can't do that with, certain things that you're not allowed to use or not allowed to eat or whatever, according to Judaism and Halacha, and that, for now, that is their fulfillment, is when you go ahead and you avoid those things. Right? Right? It's in Tanya, straight up, right?
What?
Everything we just said. Okay, go ahead. What do you want to say?
No, it doesn't make sense. There's like a bunch of worlds.
I don't want to go into this stuff. That's already a separate conversation.
Yeah.
And what do we really mean by worlds? Is that literal? Is that conceptual? Is that concept?
So many different worlds and things that are going on in the spiritual realm of God, that maybe this world is just we're just the concept of creation is given for us.
No, the way we understand it, at least, and if you look in the book Nefesh HaChaim, which is a great book, if a person is interested in what we're talking about here, that is probably the best and simplest and most concise Hebrew book, at least, on this topic, on really all of this. Really, it's a really good starter for Kabbalistic concepts. And over there, he talks about the idea that that we really, express your question again. That's not usually how we view it. Usually the way it's viewed in Kabbalah and based on certain sources and things like this is that what we do, it really determines what's going to go on everywhere else. So it's like a rope. Actually, he does talk about this in Nefesh Chaim. It's like a rope, right? So God, let's say, sends some energy down here, does something, right? Pulls the string this way, and so it affects the rope all the way down here, right? But then there's also, we do our thing over here. We're the only ones with action. We're the only ones really with free will. So we make the difference, and then based on that, so it has ramifications in every world above. So we affect. We're a big deal, We're a big deal because also understand we're the connection of everything to above. Because really, what are we? We're souls. We come above. We're from above all of those things, and yet we're all the way down here. The reason why angel doesn't come down here is because if you wrapped up an angel in a body the way you wrap up a soul into a body, the angel has no chance. The angel has no chance. Because it's not strong enough spiritually. The physical there'll be no free will choice. It'll be physical or the worldly thing will win out every time.
Are there some angels down here that are wrapped up in bodies?
I don't know. I don't know. But who knows? Maybe it's your roommate. I don't know. But that'd be weird, huh? So we're in that respect, we're a big deal, and that's why Judaism says that if a person's living in a righteous way, so the angels start to serve the person. Serve the person. To have angels working for you. That'd be sweet, right? So, fine. Anyway, other questions, ideas? All right, Facebook Live, it's been real. All you guys, it's been real. If anyone has any questions, wants to chat, feel free to hit me up.
Thank you.
Thank you.